Welcome back, students, to another episode of DC Graduates, where we kick off season 2 proper. Yeah, we did it. We made it through a whole season 1, the Diniverse. You can check that out on youtube.com/pointofprogress and all your audio platforms of choice. We did a couple bonus episodes that you saw before these. We had Assault on Arkham, our most recent episode, and then we also covered Batman Cape Crusader. But now we're actually getting to season 2 proper, and I had a segue to this because I actually forgot. What did we name this section of
Did we
DC
name
Graduates?
this section? I believe it's Origins.
Origins, yes. So season 2.
Season 2
Origins. And you kind of get an idea. They're like kind of like one-off stories. They are stories kind of dedicated to specific storylines in the comic books, adaptations, if you will, trying to mimic some of the art styles that we've seen, especially with this, which we're covering today, and I'm going to get into right now. It's Batman Year One from 2011. Yes. Yeah, Frank Miller's
for
Batman
the
Year One.
audio listeners, I just held up a prop. This is a copy of part of Batman Year One, the comic book that I received the other day, not to date us, as I do every episode. But I did order the 18 movie collection, the 80th anniversary Batman collection. I also got the entire series of the Batman 2004, my beloved.
Now,
And I blame Carlos for all of these purchases.
I was gonna say, listen, I made the joke. Mario fueled the drugs. You know,
yeah,
Mario put the drugs on the table. I made a joke about them. I peer pressured you into the drugs.
You did.
That are Batman.
And I accepted the peer pressure.
You folded very quickly. It was very surprising.
I folded very quickly. I used to have a copy of the Batman Season 1 on disc. It was one of my favorite DVDs growing up. It went on every single road trip. I did lose it with most of my belongings. And so Mario dropped a link to like a bunch of like Batman and like DC Blu-rays were on like hella sale. And Carlos made a comment like, how fast did Sly pick this up? And I was like, I haven't yet, but now that you mentioned it, I gotta.
I have to do this.
But that means this week's episode, I watched Totally Legally because it's part of the 18 disc
One of us did. Yeah, one of us did.
For the record, I did watch this totally legally before I got these. But now I have copies, so it's fine.
It's like fair use. It's like, it's okay, Nintendo. I own Pokemon Red.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm bootlegging these totally legal PDF copies of these books because I do own the whole series. It's just easier to read them this way.
Listen, again, this is our, is it streaming? There's ways.
It's streaming. It is streaming on Max if you are anywhere but the US, apparently.
What the fuck? So I need to like hit up like Fee? Oh, no, because it would still track my
Get that VPN going.
And that's when our sponsor. No, I wish we had a sponsor. That'd be great. Gotta be a great segue to like surf shark.
Proton VPN, hit us up.
I will gladly take the sponsorship. I am not above selling my soul. But yeah, with Origins, is the cool thing about this season is going to be, as I mentioned, a lot of one-offs, a lot of adaptations of comics, specific like graphic novels or anything like that. So we specifically, again, we're talking about Batman Year One, which is written by Frank Miller, at least the original comic, and the artist is David. I'm gonna mess this up. Mazzucchelli.
Sounds right.
Yeah. When the original book came out, I think it was like late 80s. And I believe it was before Dark Knight Returns. I always get that messed up. Like, I think it's before Dark Knight Returns. And this was for the longest time. And I think still to this day, most of it, like 75, 80% of it is considered like set origin across any timeline, except for this new Absolute Universe that just launched. He has a fucking axe. The thing is an axe. It's hilarious. Sorry, I just wanted to touch on that because I read that today. I was like, what the fuck? Why does he have a battle axe?
But, yeah. Year One is like one of those like capstone I think touchstone is the word I'm looking for. comic origins where like Batman gets a lot of origins over the years, a lot of interpretations, but it feels like most of them at least draw inspiration from year one, if not just like completely rip it off, which
Yeah.
like good for them. It's solid. Uh, but do we want to talk about like our history with year one in general first before we dive into this 2011 movie specifically?
Yeah, I think that's a good segue to this because I think we could kind of bring a comics portion to this season specifically. So I am, I want to say, at least I was back in the day, a very big Frank Miller fan.
Hmm.
I've cooled off on him a lot as I got older. He's very, very cynical. Great writer, don't get me wrong, and I
Hmm.
feel like when he's not so angry at the world, if that makes sense, his vision is very cool to see, right? Like I actually really
Hmm.
do enjoy Sin City. 300 is a really good, awesome story, like a good adaptation of like a historical event. But Batman Year One, and it's one of my favorite stories. It's a just amazing origin, top down, left, right. The
Hmm.
art's amazing from David. Um, the the story, the grittiness that came to Batman around that time when we had Tim Burton's Batman. We had with this inspired Tim Burton's Batman, this and the Dark Knight Returns. This kind of brought that grittiness back. Very like low level. Like let's take these stories that similar to what we covered in our bonus episodes of Cape Crusader, these 30s, these 40s stories, and let's bring them to like a more modern audience at the time, the 80s, like late 80s, that kind of very cynical late nature of how the 80s were. Let's change some adaptations here and there. Catwoman, is a lady of the night in the story. There's some changes there. There's some characters introduced that will become big players. Holly Robinson, things like that into the Batman lore. And I think this book is very, very good. And you can contrast it, right? Like if we'll talk about it more next week, but with Dark Knight Returns, that's like him like unchained, right? That's Frank Miller unchained. And obviously big Superman fan. I'll talk about this more next week. I just don't like how, how he portrays Superman in that. You can tell he like hates
Hmm.
this character, and it's like weird to almost like hate write. Like every once in a while he does something. He's like, I'm writing this because I hate this thing. It's like, well, why? Like, why would you do
Yeah.
that? Why would you put so much anger into your work? But I mean, people love it. I love this book specifically. So, Sly, what's your
Hmm.
history with specifically with year one?
I've definitely read through year one previously. I don't think I ever like really got through year two. Um, but
Year
I
two's okay.
think the art style is really interesting and really helps in like grounding this in a city story. Like this, especially the art in this book, like lives and breathes Gotham in a really tangible way. And I really enjoy it. I think the story is very strong. Like you said, Frank Miller, absolutely incredible. Does
Mhm.
he channel all of his feelings through his writing? Maybe. But hey, you know, it's good to have an outlet. And I think when he has a feel for a character, when he feels like a character in his soul, he can create some of the most incredible storylines for them, and I really appreciate that. Uh, my first impression, though, with the movie as we revisited it for this recording, I'd watched it back in the probably the mid 2010s ish.
Yeah.
Definitely not when it first came out, but I had seen it before. I was just so incredibly struck by how it's almost like a scene for scene, like frame by frame recreation of the book. A Obviously, you know, there are some differences as you go throughout, but honestly, I couldn't tell you what is the book and what is the movie. Like it just feels so seamless. And I was just like really shocked by how much this movie, this, you know, all 64 minutes of it feels like exactly like you are flipping through the pages of year one,
Yeah.
which is a really cool feat.
No, it isn't. That's kind of a shining beacon with a lot of these origin movies we're gonna cover is that when it's done right, it really serves the comic book. and if you're a fan of the the written page and everything of that
Mhm.
nature, you're rewarded as a fan.
Mhm.
There may be some things that kind of like change you, like in your head. Like
Mhm.
honestly, anytime I hear Batman, I hear Kevin Conroy. So there is that disconnect with Ben McKenzie playing him. Not that he doesn't do
Yeah.
a good job. We'll talk about it more later.
No,
But
he does a great job, but
yeah, it's just hard
when
to
we
not
know
hear it.
Kevin Conroy through like so many projects and
Hmm.
so many iterations, and for that to be like our touchstone and us to be so familiar with that portrayal of Batman to
Yeah,
not
it's
have
hard
that.
to. It is hard
Hmm.
to that. And I did want to touch on this real quick. I just looked it up on Wikipedia. There's 4 chapters that make up the book Year One. Chapter 1, Who Am I? How I come to be. Chapter 2, The War is Declared. Chapter 3, Black Dawn. And chapter year 4, Friend in Need, which are issue 404, 405, 406, and 407. 404 came out in February 1987, which is my birth year and my birth month. So
Happy birthday to you
yeah,
specifically.
little baby Carlos is like, this book is gonna change my life. Oh look, the baby's babbling. No, I'm trying to tell you, buy this book right now. It's gonna be really important. God damn it, no one's listening to me. But movie wise,
Hmm.
yeah, I think I jumped on this right away. This is when I watched the most, and this is kind of when like the DC animated universe was like starting, like their idea of like, hey, we're gonna
Hmm.
adapt specific storylines, or we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. It starts with the Superman Doomsday movie, a lot of those, and then to get here, I jumped on this right away. I was like all about this DC animated slate at the time, so I watched this right away. I owned the DVD, I think at one point. I don't anymore, unfortunately, but yeah, I did. I watched this quite a bit because again, it's also 64 minutes, perfect time,
Hmm.
perfect time frame.
Yeah, it's just long enough for you to feel fulfilled by what you're getting, and not long enough that you have like even a minute to tune out.
No,
It's
no.
like so action packed, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like time economy is used so well. The
Yeah,
pacing is perfect, but yeah,
absolutely.
just
Absolutely.
incredible.
So yeah, moving on to the movie itself. It was directed by Sam Liu, who we've talked about previously on this show, and Lauren Montgomery. Written by Tab Murphy, Studios WB Animation as always. Stars Ben McKenzie, Bryan Cranston, Eliza Dushku, which I was so happy to hear, Jeff Bennett, Greg Griffin as both Barbara Gordon, not Batgirl, but
The other
James's
part, right?
her mom, Barbara Gordon, and Vicky Vale, which is you did put a note. It's so funny and it is hilarious. Again, if you're outside the U.S., it's streaming on Max. If you're inside the U.S., you know, there's websites.
Yeah.
And again, fuck David Zaslav.
Indeed. Yeah,
Half
we
fuck him, I
gotta get
guess. I
it
don't
in
know.
at the top. Half fucking.
He just likes every other country but America, I guess. I don't know. But
Apparently, I don't know. I haven't told you the story, so I'm just gonna tell you
oh my god, you better.
live while we're recording. I did not meet him,
All
but I
right.
was working an event the other day, and we were chatting about something, and I don't know how we got on the topic, but somebody was like, "Oh, that like one businessman who takes over everything and like burns it to the ground," and I was like, "Oh, David Zaslav, fuck that guy."
I know exactly. I talk about him every
Yeah.
Monday.
I was gonna say, I was like, I talk shit about him on a weekly basis.
Someone's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it."
Don't worry
Actually,
about
do worry.
it.
Give me your phone. I'm gonna. Where do you listen to podcasts? Give me.
Yeah,
This is a
that's
shout
what
out
I
to.
should have done.
Actually, yeah. If you have a friend that's not really good with computers or phones, tablets, anything like,
Mhm,
just take it away from them. Pretend like you're
mhm.
fixing it. Go onto their podcast service of choice. Subscribe to DC Graduates, Point of Progress, Nerd Today, Thirsty
Yeah,
Thursday,
all your
everything,
favorite
all that
shows.
stuff,
Yeah,
all
whatever you
that
want.
stuff.
Yeah. Mhm.
Just go down the list and then
They'll
give it
never
back to me. Like,
notice.
I fixed your iPad. Here you go. You know what I mean? Just do that. Sly, hit us with the recap of this movie.
This is a chunky one. All
It
right.
is.
Two men come to Gotham City. Bruce Wayne, after years abroad, feeding his lifelong obsession for justice, and Jim Gordon, after being too honest to cop with the wrong people elsewhere.
Okay.
After learning painful lessons about the city's corruption on its streets and police department respectively, this pair learn how to fight back in their own way. With that, Gotham's evildoers from top to bottom are terrorized. We love our tops and our bottoms. By the mysterious Batman and the equally heroic Jordan. I was trying to say Jim's Gordon, and there's only one name there.
Gordon's fisherman. Got
The equally heroic Gordon is assigned to catch him by comrades who both hate and fear him themselves. In the ensuing manhunt, both find much in common as the seeds of an unexpected friendship are laid, with additional friends and rivals helping to start the legend. My dude, Kenneth Chisholm, whoever wrote this, you used a lot of SAT words in that recap. They were good. Were they
yeah.
necessary? Maybe
No.
not.
He's definitely practicing. He was like, my mom keeps telling me
Oh
I
yeah.
gotta get ready for the SATs. What do I do? I'm
hmm
watching this Batman movie. Let me write the plot recap real quick. That's it.
Alright, our comic characters in this movie, we've got a very baby Batsy, we've got Jimmy Gordon, but don't call him that to your face or he will beat yours in. Uh, Auntie Selena, my beloved, Alfie, also my beloved, and Falcone, who, shout out to Falcone. What a great villain. Like, I love
No.
when he pops up.
I
He's just
same.
so iconic.
Same. He doesn't do anything crazy, man. He did, he
No,
doesn't like get like a mech suit or like falls in a
he's
bad
not like
acid. Just a monster.
fucking Sionis out here being
Yeah.
like terrifyingly insane. He's just like trying to, make his money, support the people who are dependent on
Mm-hmm.
him, run his business. So what if it's the mob? Like he's a hardworking man, and we love that for him.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, with that out of the way, let's jump into the Andrea Romano roundup. As always, we like to shout out Andrea Romano, the amazing voice director that gave us what we feel is modern animation today. Um, you wrote these in this time, so I'll let you start where you want to start with.
I wrote these in like a month ago when we all watched
Listen,
this
man, I'm
movie.
moving. There's still exposed wires back there.
hmm
It
Yeah.
happens.
It happens. My first bullet point for this conversation was I wanted to ask what makes a good year one story. We see a lot of year one stories. We see a lot of origin stories
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, especially in the superhero comic adaptations genre. But we also get to see this story specifically reworked and um, shown in different properties in different ways. And so I wanted to ask, like, what to you makes a year one story good or even great? Like, what are the necessary and defining like char- characteristics? I promise I just started drinking. It's fine.
It's not the exhaustion kicking in, no, it is the exhaustion, not the alcohol. That's what
It's
it is.
both, but it's
It's a little
fine.
bit both. Yeah. No. So for me, like specifically with year one, I think it was good to establish what this Batman was going to be post Crisis of Infinite Earth, because that's the time frame for this, right? Like Crisis just happened, the whole DC universe just got rebooted. There's no more many universes. There's just one. So they're rectifying like what sticks, like what from Earth 2 stays and what from Earth 1 stays, and there's big retreats and everything like that. That kind of led us to what we got with year one, and is kind of making it a definite origin for Batman throughout the comics medium, right? So it serves as the comic origin for his version of the Dark Knight Returns. That this is the same origin as the Batman you get in 1995 in No Man's Land, later on Absolute Zero and things like that. This is the story. I think at the time when you're looking at he was what Batman's a character created in the 40s. This 40 years later, I think it's good to slow down, goes very slow, piece by piece, show us what makes Batman who he is again, like reestablish him basically.
Mhm.
more serious, less campy, everything like that. And I mean, he's been less campy prior to this. Denny O'Neil's been like making him more serious before that, but I think that's a good thing. Same thing with I believe it's Man of Steel at the time. Same thing. Let's restart this Superman universe. Like, what is Superman? What's his definite origin? What's Wonder Woman's at that time? This one specifically hits so well that when the New 52 comes around, post Final Crisis and everything like that, and Flashpoint and all that stuff, this sticks. This stays
Mhm.
basically for the most part. You just get it expounded in year zero in the New
Mhm.
52 with from Snyder and Greg Capullo. For me though, the later we get into a character's life, the more we see a character, the less I want to see minute details, right? Because we know the broad
Mhm.
strokes, right? Give me like a,
Yeah.
a story set in this time.
Mhm.
Um, One of my favorite year ones, specifically because it happened to be this, but and obviously I'm wearing the shirt and I always talk about it, is Nightwing year one.
Mhm.
And it's really well done. It and when you think about the time frame of when Nightwing debuts, right, in Teen Titans, breaks away
Mhm.
from Batman, you don't get a lot of story. You just know I had a falling out with Bruce. I was Robin. There's some stories in Wolfman and
Mhm.
Perez's Teen Titans books, but you get this more expanded, right? You see Dick going back home, trying to still be Robin, trying to like work with Batman. It's not working. They have a huge falling out. He goes on this journey trying to reinvent himself, find out who he really is like, at this crossroads. So I could go to college. I could do this. I have responsibilities to the Titans,
Mhm.
and then when he comes back, Bruce has already moved on to Jason. He feels hurt.
Mhm.
All this stuff is happening. So he dedicates himself to kind of finding a new thing and goes to who his mentor is, right? In Superman. And he gets an
Mhm.
inspiration of the famous hero of Kandor, Nightwing and Flamebird. And that's where he
Mhm.
gets his name. And that's where, you know, Clark tells him like he's always so impressed with him and like he guy gives him the boost that he needs to be like, I can do this by myself and let's figure this out.
Yeah.
And it leads right into, Wolfman and Perez's new Teen Titans run where you see the debut of Nightwing. That's a good year one to me.
Yeah.
Where you get like what happened in this couple months that are not expanded. Is there an interesting story to tell there? Because if it's not
Mhm.
interesting, don't do it for origin's sake. How many times have we seen Spider-Man be rebooted, in film?
Too
Uh,
many.
yeah, and at this point, and same thing with Superman and Batman. And we see it so many times, and you don't need to do it as often. Like Batman Begins is a really good example of doing the origin movie wise because it takes like the very broad strokes of year one and inserts that in a
Mhm.
film, right? You see Batman building up to being, Bruce going to Nanda Parbat, training with the League, coming back, trying to fight for Gotham, figure out the suit details, and that's cool for film because we haven't really gotten that in film. But now at this point, we know his origin. We don't need to see it again. We've seen Superman's
Mhm.
origin a million times, and the best to ever do it is All Star Superman, which we'll touch upon very soon in a couple of weeks. And it's literally when you open the book, it's 3 panels: dying planet, kindly couple, symbol of hope or something like that. I forget what the exact
Mhm.
three are. And that's really all you need to know who Superman is, right?
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. And for Spider Man, thank God for the MCU because they're like, this is our third reboot, our third actor. What are we gonna do? It's like, fuck it, man. Like, let's just jump in. He's just Spider Man
Mhm.
already. Now he just
Yeah.
gets his own suit, and we change a little bit of his origin, right? We never talk, and then it becomes egregious, right? Because for comic fans like
Yeah.
us, that this is a Marvel thing. Now we're like, well, who the fuck's Uncle Ben?
Yeah.
We don't know. Well, now I kind of
Who
want to
is
see
he?
what
Where is he?
happened. Like you
Uh-huh.
allude to him, okay, but like he's not that important to make him Spider Man. Now Aunt May's
Uh-huh.
that, spoilers if you didn't
Mhm.
see a movie that came out 5 years ago. Aunt May's the one who gives him great responsibility.
If you want to
Great
know
power.
all of our Spider-Man thoughts, we've
Great.
talked about Spider-Man often on OC University,
Yes.
but the best episode was our the freaking Across the Spider-Verse
Yes.
or whatever, featuring you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
were on
No.
that.
Exactly.
Both of them, weren't you? No, no, no.
No, just
My
the first one.
nephew was on the
Your
second one.
nephew
You
was
were
on
on
the
the
second
first
one.
one,
Yeah.
yeah.
But That's it, right? Like we don't need like Miles is a newer character. He needs an
Mm-hmm.
origin for the audience, right?
Yeah.
We know who Peter is. We know who Bruce is. We know who Clark is. Diana hasn't had an origin really, right? Like in
Mm-hmm.
mainstream like media, right? That's not comic books. So yeah, she gets an origin. That's what you need to do. You need to pick out comic book wise, what little details can change, and is it interesting enough to show me a new origin, right? And it's not lost on me
Mm-hmm.
that we're recording this on the week of the absolute universe launching, right? Where we're getting new, origins for the Trinity in this new, brand new, ultimate style universe that DC's launching, right? But Absolute Batman, I
Mm-hmm.
made the joke before filming. He's got an axe on his chest. Why? Why is he built like a brick
Why?
shit house and he has a small head? I don't understand. I hate the character
Choices are being
depiction.
made.
Yeah. But like what is that, right? And there's a spoiler that
Mm-hmm.
I read earlier. Like, I wanted to, I didn't care. But like what is this Bruce now? He's not a millionaire. He's a normal guy. He is trained by Alfred, who is they leaned really into the SAS stuff and Secret Service, and he's like all decked out with
Uh-huh.
guns and armor and shit. He looks badass. Well, so like, what is this Bruce? That's an
Mm-hmm.
origin story I want to know, right? What's this new Kal
Mm-hmm.
El, right? Because he's not Clark right yet, right? I don't think he doesn't have a kindly family that took him in. He came to Earth, and now he's trying to figure everything out. Who's this Diana?
Mm-hmm.
Why does she have tattoos? Why is she riding a death Pegasus? Tell
I
me
need to
this.
look that up.
Oh yeah, big ass sword, tattoo, riding like a skeleton Pegasus. Like, okay, that's where you give us origins. But for these
Mm-hmm.
characters who've been around since like the 40s, we don't need it unless you can make something very interesting to the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I think there has to be one of two things. You are either filling in a gap and telling a story that hasn't been told yet,
Mhm.
or you are choosing to purposefully reinvent a character and you need to explain why this character is different than the character you had previously and why it is so important for you to reinvent them. And I think we get a lot of that with the various points throughout comics history where they've decided to completely like scrap and reboot the universes they're working out of. And that makes sense. You're like, hey, we're completing creating a completely different world, and we want to tell you why the environment around them has shaped these characters, and that's why we're choosing to show you how they developed in their origin. Okay,
Mhm.
great. I get that. Um, or like you said, you have characters who you've seen maybe their beginning, maybe where they are currently, but you're missing something in between. Or you see where they're currently and you haven't gotten a chance to like flash back. You don't know where they came from. There's room to answer questions, fill those gaps. But specifically for me, year one stories really have to find the heart of the story and anchor it around a specific moment or ideal or something. You have to have something to develop off of. Like for this year one, it is the city. This is Gotham. This is two outsiders coming into Gotham and either discovering or rediscovering her, and what makes the city run the way it does, and how does that influence how they feel about the city itself and the people within it, and what choices they are going to make to operate within this system and this city. And I think this is one of the greatest examples of how to do an origin, of how to reimagine a character, and how to uh, both do that in a comic book and transcend it to a different medium. Like to make this into an animated movie in the way they did, a lot of things don't translate from like page to screen, and they managed to make everything feel really seamless.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like especially with the monologue nature of the story, like both Jim,
Hmm.
we get more Jim in this than you do in the comic, but having Bruce constantly internally monologue, it's it's something you're used to when you're
Hmm.
reading, and
Yeah.
it was a big task for them, I think, movie wise, to adapt that, and they stuck to their guns, and it works. It really
Mm.
does. Like you get these like
And
beautiful
if they
long shots.
half-assed it, it wouldn't have. Like
No.
they could have very easily done like I call it the Grey's Anatomy style, but you see this in a lot of like emergency shows or medical dramas or whatever, where it's just like an attempt at a frame story, but it's really you have a monologue at the beginning and the end, and they don't really matter, and they like you don't really notice them. And they could have very much tried to do that with this movie, and I don't think it would have been effective. But for them to have basically like inner dialogue throughout the entire movie, depending on like whose perspective you're focusing on, was a really strong artistic choice.
Yeah, and it doesn't work without Ben McKenzie and Bryan Cranston. They both
Hmm.
uber deliver. I mean, everyone does a really amazing job in this movie. Elijah Dushku does great as Selena. You know, Rick Griffin does a really good job in in her smaller roles as Barbara. You know, but when you get to the brass tacks, this is a Gordon movie.
Hmm.
1A, and then 1B is Bruce. Where the books get a little
Hmm.
bit more flipped. There's more Bruce in that, and then some Gordon, but you get to really delve into like what makes Gordon tick. We know he's this like pillar of the community, right? He's this guy who doesn't give up, he doesn't back down. So what makes him tick? And at this point, if you're reading comic books for however long, he is that pillar of good in the world and all this stuff, fighting corruption, doing all this stuff. But then to kind of dirty him up a little bit story wise and make
Hmm.
him a flawed human being, and he has that, extramarital affair with Susan Eisen. And
Hmm.
it's like you see it and you're like, Jim, don't like you don't do
Yeah.
this. And it hurts because you see this character who's so well beloved get like make this dumb decision. And it's funny, I made an Alexander Hamilton joke prior to us filming, but like I
Yeah.
do love that there's that portion in this where they're like, "Hey, we got proof that you cheated on your wife. You're not so good, Gordon." He's like, "I'm gonna go to the papers and tell them everything." He
Yeah.
just pulls a Hamilton, and he's like,
Yeah.
first of all, I am not a corrupt cop. I am a bad husband, but I am not a corrupt cop, sir. Don't you dare." Okay, am I a piece of shit husband? Absolutely.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
but don't you dare call me a corrupt cop. Fucking Hamilton was like, I didn't steal money from the government. I did cheat on my wife. I did cuckold this man over here, and I give him money every week. But still, I'm a good
So.
I'm a good government official. God damn it! Don't you dare tarnish my name. I'll do it myself.
Hmm.
You do
Love
have that,
that.
but it is cool to see like the pain that Gordon has. Right? He really
Hmm.
is just he's a flawed man, but god damn it, he really is a good man. Like he really wants to. He sees the good in the city where this city has no good. This city has
Hmm.
no good whatsoever, and he sees it. He wants to make it better, and he wants to fight all the shit that's wrong in this world. He doesn't want to take money from bad people. He doesn't want to randomly beat up black children, in the Narrows
Hmm.
like Flash does. He's just not just doing all this shit, and it's really, really good to see. And you see Bruce quickly picking up on that. He's like, that motherfucker is who I gotta keep an eye on. He's like, he's
Uh-huh.
that dude. He's my guy. All right, got a
Hmm.
guy.
And especially for a character who, I imagine, went into this force a little bit more starry-eyed,
Mhm.
and he saw injustice and he called it out. He thought he was doing like his job and his duty, and to be like completely like shunned and ostracized from that in his previous posts to the point where he had to like move across the country. I don't know where he's from. He had to at least move cities.
Yeah.
Um, and give up like everything to move to, Gotham, which has a notorious reputation. And he's coming into this a little more cleared eyed, a little more level headed, and knows like he has to balance his morals and what it takes to survive. And him like going through this movie and finding out like where are my lines? Like what will I not cross? What
Mhm.
can I accept? And where must I put my foot down? I think that pivots us very beautifully into my second bullet point of this conversation, which I titled like I would an academic paper. It's called Police Corruption, Vigilantism, and the Law, what makes a hero, question mark. And I just noticed there was a lot of parallels in this movie, and most obvious would be to be drawn between Gordon and Bruce. Like those are our two leads, our two main characters, the two perspectives from which we see this city. But I thought it was really interesting to look at the um, different battles they have with the outside world and with themselves. So looking at like Jim versus internal affairs, like the cop department, the organization that theoretically is keeping them held accountable for their actions, how does his morals and his actions interact with the system, and how do they butt heads
Mhm.
and cause like friction? Uh, in terms of morals, how do we look at like Batman versus Catwoman, where they both want what's best, but their uh, morals and their what they're willing to do to achieve that, and what they think the end result should be, are drastically different. And then I also put Harvey versus the world because my man's out here. He's trying.
He's
He
always third
certainly
fiddle,
is
you know.
trying. Yeah.
He's an important third fiddle, but he,
He
that
is
string's a
very
little
important.
loose, on the
It is a
guitar.
little loose, and he is fighting everything and everyone he can. He is picking all of his battles, and to all of them he says yes.
Yeah,
I respect that.
yeah, and it's funny because all three, when done well in the classical origin of all three, they all three depend on each other, right? And they want to keep each other in check, and they don't necessarily
Yeah.
need to, but they know
Hmm.
how important each other is to Gotham as a whole. Like
Yeah.
to Gordon and Harvey, Batman is a necessary evil, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, to fixing what's wrong with Gotham. They almost feel. I feel like just watching media and reading media with them in it, you feel like, oh, once this is all clear, the Batman's gonna go away.
Hmm.
Then you get to Bruce, who is like, the Batman is a means to an end. You
Hmm.
know, if I do this, this happens. This will be clear. The world will be safe, and there is no end to his fight
Hmm.
because his mission would become something else.
The eternal struggle.
Exactly. Like he has his mission is the mission, right? Like that's it. Like it's
Yeah.
always going to be something with him. It's always
He
going to
will
be.
never know peace.
Mm-mm. No, and that's why it's so egregious when you watch it. And like The Dark Knight Rises is, I think, the second
Hmm.
time I brought this up in our podcast. At least the first time this season, when he just gives up for 8 years. Like I know they
Hmm.
tried to tie little, but it was like, oh, because of this case and that case and Harvey and the Rico thing, there was no crime in Gotham for 7 years. Like bullshit, there wasn't. Bullshit, there wasn't.
There might
Nah,
not have been like city threatening, world
yeah,
ending crime,
but
but
there's
it's
stuff. There's
Gotham.
yeah. Come on, man.
Nobody's doing well.
You got
Nobody's
all the
thriving.
mobsters, all of them. No other mobsters from
Sure.
any other city came in with this
Mm-mm.
power
Take
vacuum.
over that, but
Are
yeah,
you kidding
absolutely.
me? So like that was weirdly egregious. Seeing him like, and like, mind you, I understand he's in mourning and sad. He lost his lifelong best friend, who also was like the love of his life that he felt at this point. Really, you're gonna stop? Because like you've lost sons in the comic books, you've lost your parents, you've lost
Uh-huh.
women
You
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 love.
experienced loss, and
Yeah,
usually your response is to go
deeper
put
into mission.
petty level thugs in the hospital and in comas
Yeah.
and pick fights against bad guys because you think they're going to kill you, and you're okay with that. Like that's the typical Bruce
So to see him
response
be like, I
to
have a
experiencing
cane
loss.
and my knee hurts and I take time off. It was like, no,
Me too,
no,
buddy. I wish that was me.
yeah,
I wish I was taking time off.
but no, dude, you can't take 7 years off. Like that's not how this fucking works, Bruce.
No.
God damn it, you're Batman. But besides that, yeah, for Harvey and Gordon, as I mentioned, like they see Batman as like a necessary evil that will go away eventually. I don't think they realize that he's never gonna go away. For Bruce, I don't. I think
Mhm.
he wants to go away, but something would
Mhm.
take over that, right? If it's not the mob, it's the Joker. If it's not the Joker, it's Poison Ivy. If it's not Ivy, it's Harley. If it's not Harley, it's Bane. If it's not Bane, it's Killer Croc. You know, like it's a domino effect that he has no
Keep
way
my
out.
man Waylon Jordan's name out of your mouth.
But you have that, and it's funny too because when you see the dichotomy of like Harvey and Batman interacting, right? They understand how important Jim is. Like Jim needs,
Mhm.
he holds himself accountable. He makes sure that he's on the up and up, and that you don't have to worry too much about Jim. Again,
Yeah.
really good man, although he's flawed. Um, and then for when you get to Gordon and Batman, they see Harvey as the shining knight, That's like the
Mhm.
whole premise of the Dark Knight, Nolan's Dark Knight. It's
Yeah.
like he can't be corrupted because if he's corrupted, we are fucked. This does not
Yeah.
work. Like he has to
He's
be the
the one
dude.
doing the
Yeah,
good
the
fight. Like he
work.
has to be. Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to be mayor. He needs to do this. He needs to show the city that like, yes, you can be a good person and also work in a good area of the city
Mhm.
and be this shining beacon, this white knight. And you can see how it falls apart for them a lot when
Uh-huh.
Harvey gets corrupted. Like once Harvey gets corrupted, like it for a long time falls apart for them, and they're like they get disillusioned. Like all three of
Mhm.
them are so important to each other, and I don't think they realize how important. Like they talk about how important each other is, but like they really don't
Mhm.
know how important
Yeah.
each other is to their lives and their
My
individual
favorite
fights.
oblivious throuple.
Top and bottom, Harvey bottom, Bruce top. Throwing that out there.
Oh, Bruce wants to be a top. He is an absolute control freak. That man is a
uh,
bottom at heart.
oh, you think so? Gordon in the corner with his pipe. Just
Yeah,
saying.
no, he's in charge of the whole thing and he knows it. The other two don't, but he
Yeah.
does.
He schedules it. He puts it on the calendar. It's like
Yeah,
bocce night. What bocce? Master Bruce, you play bocce now? Don't worry about it.
don't worry.
Okay. Okay.
Go into the pool hall. It's fine.
But yeah, I think, and even their like individual fights, right? Like you mentioned here, Jim
Mhm.
versus IA. Constantly fighting his cops, and as he even rises through the ranks, he's still fighting his
Mhm.
cops nonstop. Like there's always some corruption. There's always some mobster. There's always some villain who's like, just like, bro, if I give you all this money and get you the fuck out of the city, will you do bad shit for me? He's like, and as almost a fucked up say, any smart person would be like, fuck yeah, this city's horrible. I want to get the fuck out.
Mhm.
Give me all the money. Here's all the evidence. It
And the
always
problem
backfires.
is like because of how, you know, the population makeup of Gotham is like these people can't really afford to be saying no. Are you
No.
kidding me? You know how much food you can buy with the fucking mob payoff? That's a lot of fucking food. I would take the money too. Honestly, if I was in that situation,
Yeah.
I,
So
I
that
see where they come from. But again, that's something Jim has to fight. Like he understands like some of them are just straight up villainous and are there
hmm
for the power trip because some people will do anything for power and will
yeah.
absolutely abuse their position.
Yeah,
But
when you get Flash, like Flash loves the power.
yeah,
You know.
absolutely. But some of these Gothamites are just trying to survive. You kidding me? And that's like such a huge part of it as well. Like this like city you see what is like the epitome of what will humans do when they're at their lowest. Like when they have nothing left, like what will they do? And it's really interesting to see that in a like fantasy like fun silly comic book
hmm
setting. But it's true and it is really indicative of the world we live in and how people view it.
Yeah, and Batman always fighting like his fight. Him and Catwoman specifically in this movie having like opposing, like the same view of what they need to
Hmm.
do, but different ways of going to it and getting about it.
Yeah.
Like it also comes from that. Bruce doesn't realize that like he's only able to be Batman in this universe because of his wealth, right?
Hmm.
You know, again, most
Rich ass
interesting part.
motherfucker.
Yeah, most interesting part about this absolute Batman universe is like, he's not rich, so like, how does he become Batman? How does he stay being Batman? How do we live in this universe? So that is an interesting concept, but like typically like he has the money. He doesn't live in Gotham.
Man's fucked off for like 10 years to
Mhm.
find himself, traveling the globe to learn things,
Yeah, while
and
everyone else is in the
hasn't
filth in the
learned
mud.
a single thing about like wealth disparity or like how Gotham functions as a society and community. It's fine.
Yeah, and it's not even till like now, right? Like newer comic books where you get a Bruce that in main continuity is like, all right, I'm finally gonna live in the city with my
Yeah,
kids,
fucking Bristol boy. All right, get the
Exactly.
fuck out of
I'm gonna
here.
live in the city with my kids. I'm gonna give back to the community. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And they, in modern interpretations, they have been like, let's set up the Wayne Foundation. Let's do this. And they've
Mhm,
backtracked and be like, no, he gives to the community. He tries to do this. He tries to do that. But he's fighting an uphill battle both ways, right? Whether it comes
mhm,
financially or physically. Like he's constantly
mhm.
fighting for the soul of Gotham in two different ways, and it must feel like a weird losing battle some days for Batman.
Oh
And he
yeah.
still goes out to do it, which is really indicative of who the character is, why we love Batman. But then you see Catwoman,
Insanity or perseverance? Who knows?
a little bit of both. He's touched with a
A
little
little
bit of
bit
both.
about.
But then you see, Selena, and she does want a different life, right? She wants a better life, and she lives in the Narrows, and she, in this interpretation, she is a prostitute, and she has to make ends meet. But like, she sees Bruce as almost like an opportunity. Like seeing Batman is like, oh, the world, I can be different. Like I can change the world
Mhm.
in a different way. And yeah, it's through crime and theft and all this stuff. But like she's
But
trying.
vigilantism is illegal too. So
Exactly.
like,
What's worse, like stealing a couple of pearls from somebody or beating the shit out of the mentally ill in the alleyway? Dressed up as a bat. Who's to say?
honestly, there's one I would take over the other any
Yeah,
day.
yeah. Pearls sound, first of all, way easier. But then if you go
Oh
too
yeah.
far, that same person dressed as a bat is gonna beat the shit out of you. So you gotta
Exactly.
ride that line, right? But yeah, they all have their interesting like specific issues that they had to deal with Gotham, and then I do love their reliance on each other. And then unfortunately for Harvey, it always backfires for him.
Oh, Harvey. And I think that our discussion on how we view Harvey this week uh, really illustrates why, when we were doing our Caped Crusader episodes, why I was a little
Yeah.
perturbed by that character choice for Harvey, because he is an asshole and we don't really like him in that. And to not have that like shining beacon of light and hope and
Hmm.
like fighting the good fight for the city, and he
Yeah,
kind
you
of
can
feels
still
like
make
he's
him
out
an
there for his own
asshole.
gain. Yeah.
It doesn't, just because he's an asshole to like his friends or whatever doesn't mean he doesn't have to be the shining beacon to the city. Like you could, that is that dichotomy, and especially, I mean, talking about the cops. You go to Cape Crusader and their depiction of Bullock is similar to what we were talking about Harvey. It's like
Yeah,
disappointing to see. You're
exactly.
like this character I love, and shows this really cool range and what it means to be a Gotham, like a really good Gotham cop.
Hmm.
It just sucks when you see him in a different light. And I understand that's artist interpretation, right? That's what they want to go
Yeah.
with this version. And I can't fault them for that. But at the same time, it's not my Bullock. That's
Yeah,
not how
that's
I like my
valid.
Bullock.
All right. To wrap up this conversation real quick, I finally remembered how this show exists and is released to the world. And so if you listen to this anywhere but Spotify, just so you know, every week I painstakingly pour through my mind palace to try to develop some clever Spotify polls. And they often do not pay off. So if you're listening to this anywhere other than Spotify, and it's within a couple days of release, maybe pop over there, see what the Spotify poll question
Yeah.
of the episode is, and respond. But this time I decided to build it directly into our show instead of trying to remember weeks and months later what we talked about to make it into a poll.
Very fair.
So the question for this episode is, what is our favorite Batman
Mm,
era? And I wrote down a couple options here so we have like something to build on to pick from, kind of get the ideas flowing. So I've got year one, the story we see throughout this movie. Got the early 20s, established Batman, doesn't quite have a kid yet, still, doing his thing. We got the dynamic duo era once we get Dick Grayson into the mix. We got, the legendary, like, team up, that kind of era. The next one I called Daddy Bat. This is when he has like 8 million kids. They're all running around doing their thing. Love that for him. Um, I have Old Man Bats where he's still, fighting the good fight, crusading for justice. But that's a little bit older, a little bit more broken. My touchstone for this is like the Returns era,
yeah.
kind of. And then we have retired Batsy, which we see in Beyond prominently, and some other places he pops up. But he's officially hung up the cape and cowl, maybe passed it on to somebody else, or maybe not. And is, just living out his days, usually with a dog. Love that.
Shout out to Ace.
We love Ace. Shout out to Titus as well.
Titus is a good one too. Yeah,
hmm
absolutely. All right, Sly, why don't you? What's your favorite era?
I think it's really obvious what my favorite era is, Carlos.
Yeah, it's gonna be Daddy Bats, isn't it?
It is gonna be
Yeah,
Daddy Bats. That man is so father shaped, and he's such a reluctant father,
yeah,
which
he
I
really
think
is.
makes it even better. He's like, why do these children keep appearing? I don't know, Bruce. Maybe because you keep kidnapping them off the streets.
Collecting them
Like,
like
maybe
fucking
stop.
Pokemon.
Exactly. You see every tragic, dark-haired, like bright-eyed kiddo, and like literally steal them from everything they've ever known, and feed them and care for them. Of course, they keep showing up. What are you
Yeah,
talking about?
Jesus. Even if they do have their parents, it's like, don't worry, it's Gotham. Eventually, it'll work itself out. Tim.
Yeah, fucking Tim's the neighbor. He has parents. I'm not his parent. Yeah, wait until they fucking die, Bruce. All right. And I want to say especially shout out to the kids he doesn't claim. I think by now he's kind of claiming Cass,
Yeah.
as he should, but for a while he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a shout out to Stephanie, my beloved.
Oh,
I love her so
Stephanie.
much. Uh, and shout out to Duke Thomas, the only one who ever has the normal sleeping schedule. Like he's like the only
Like,
like
thank God,
well-adjusted
right?
one.
Thank God he's
Thank
in
God
meta.
there's one of them. He's just chilling. He's got his family, his cousin.
Yeah.
People didn't notice when he disappears for days on end.
Yeah, Tim's got a
Good for
caffeine
him.
addiction. Duke's like, I get plenty of rest. I don't know what you're talking about. Because
Yeah,
you're the daytime meta. We need you during the day.
you sleep at night. Like,
Like 2 pots of
anyways,
coffee is not enough for Tim.
no,
Um.
he's running on 5 at least.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and he's still tired.
Oh yeah.
For me, I mean, I'm wearing the Nightwing shirt, so yeah, it's Daddy Bats as well. But it's that era, right? Like where they really leaned into the Bat family, where they stopped like putting them at odds so much, right? A
hmm
little bit before Flashpoint, and then post Flashpoint, like having Jason really be in the fold of the Bat family again, having, Dick really kind of come into his own, as his own solo hero, post being Batman again, reluctantly having to be Batman again,
hmm
taking up the mantle of Nightwing, having Tim get, well, I don't want to talk about New 52 Tim until later on. Rebirth Tim, where he's like, hey, yeah, no, I want to go to college, I'm bi. This is awesome,
hmm
you know.
I love everything about
Yeah.
that for him.
Now it
We're
makes
gonna
sense why
keep
me
him
and
there.
Stephanie didn't work. You know, like yeah, no shit. I think she knew too.
hmm Yeah.
Um, but yeah, him kind of Alfred embracing his grandfather,
hmm
role,
Yeah.
taking care of
Honestly,
Damien.
Alfie being in his
Oh,
grandfather era is the
it's the
best
best
part of
part
all
of
of
it.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then you get so many good storylines out of this, right? Where you get Court of Owls. during this time. You get,
God. Yeah.
all of Scott Snyder and, Greg Capullo's run is amazing. Yeah, again, we mentioned, Year Zero, Mr. Bloom, which is divisive, but I like that storyline. Court of Owls, again, absolutely adore that storyline. Um, it became, everything felt new, fresh for Batman for the first time. Post New 52, it felt like we weren't just rehashing the same shit with Joker. Like, there was new stuff with Joker now. There's new stuff with Harvey. There's new stuff with Ivy. Now she's like kind of a hero, and then maybe she's not.
As she should be.
Yeah,
Environmentalist queen. Love
and
that
she's
for her.
and actively like, you're not wrong, but you do going about
Yeah.
it the wrong way.
Uh-huh.
Harley breaking away from Joker, really, truly, finally, and really, and post Suicide Squad, New 52 stuff, but like coming into her own as a hero, having her relationship with Ivy. Like, this era is really, really fun. And you get a lot of really good storylines. And then where we're at now, you get Tom King's Nightwing run, Tom King's Batman run. Even though some people are like iffy on him as a writer. I like him. I like him a lot. Tom Taylor's recent Nightwing run, where we're like on, I don't know what, 111 of Nightwing's run in this current volume, and it's just absolutely amazing. He's got a 3-legged pit bull. I have a 3-legged pit bull. It's awesome.
Love that.
They're both gray. I love it. His name is Bitewing. Oh no, her name is Bitewing. Well, mine's Bucky Barnes, but that's because he's missing on. It's perfect. I really like this specific like era that we've been living in so far, and I like that we're kind of getting something new. Him living in the city now. Let's see what that's gonna play out post this absolute universe reboot slash whatever storyline's going on in the main continuity.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to give a special shout out, obviously, because it was one of my favorite movies I mentioned in season 1, the retired Batman. Batman Beyond, seeing a Batman that, even though it's due to physical, prowess, his heart condition, and the fact that he pulled a gun on somebody just to protect himself, even for a moment. Seeing him retire, seeing him try to mentor being able to even let go a little bit of the Batman mantle. Batman specifically, not a Robin, not a Batgirl, not anything like Batman specifically, what he is, like who he is. And I sent you that TikTok edit where, they take clips from the show and the movies, and it was like, hey, when that person like fear gassed you and you like why didn't you think you were crazy? Well, first of all, I'm not crazy. I was like, all right, whatever. He's like, second of all, it kept calling me Bruce. He's like, well, what do you call yourself in your brain? And he just looks at Terry. Because of course he would call himself Batman, and I love Terry being a little asshole version of Peter Parker and be like, well, that's my name now. He's like, yeah, we'll tell that to my subconscious, because he's always Batman no matter what, but he's this new Batman that wants to make sure that Terry doesn't make the mistakes that he did, right? Can kind of have a life, but understands that Batman is such an overbearing responsibility, but Gotham needs Batman, and to have this new generation and Terry and Matt later on, and being his Robin and stuff like that, like how important it is to see that. And it's just a nice little end cap to his story, even though he doesn't find love or anything like that. He gets to find love of a son he didn't fuck over in some way, shape, or form. And Terry.
Jeez. So real.
Yeah.
Man's not a good parent. I hate to break
Nah.
it to him.
Nah. That's why I think current writers are like, we're trying, man. We're really trying here. He just occasionally punches him in the face for some reason, or makes Jason afraid of everything.
Really, yeah. Unfortunately, he is a terrible parent in the comics, and I do occasionally love some Bruce bashing stories. But sometimes where you read a like fic and he's a good parent and it's like everything you ever wanted, I'm like, could we just get a little bit more of this? Just just a taste. Just for funsies. But yeah, speaking of fanfic, I do think I realized what fanfic you were talking about earlier that I had sent you, which was the Fear Gas one with Jason being like, I didn't even realize I was on Fear Gas, because that's just my constant. That's a good fic. I don't know if I'm linking that in the show notes. I will link the edit you mentioned though.
That's a damn good edit. Yeah.
But I also would be remiss if I did not give love to the early 20s Brucey Wayne of it all. I really love like an established Batman who's still kind of starting out,
Mm-hmm.
has like the life and excitement of it, doesn't really know like where he's at. He doesn't have to deal with a traumatized like 5-year-old yet. Um and obviously one of my favorite, probably my favorite Batman stories and properties ever out. We've talked about it a bunch. It's the Batman 2004 TV show. I love that show so much. It was so formative for me in my life. But just like the way it portrays an early 20s, like Bruce, like in the like credits itself of every single episode, there's that clip of him like sitting courtside at a basketball game,
Yeah.
and he gets the little like bat notification. He has like his arms around these girls and he's like, sorry, like I gotta dip. And then he runs off and, you know, takes care of some criminal somewhere. But I really love like the life and excitement and care for the city and joy we get to see in him being Batman in that younger,
Mm-hmm.
established, but still, you know, it has the zest and panache for life, I guess.
Yeah, that's we're thinking like year two.
Hmm.
That's like a year two Batman, where he has the full cape and cowl and everything like that. That's pretty much what like I feel like the minimal episodes I watched of 2004, the Batman. That's what I feel like we
Hmm.
got was like a
I think
year
he's
two
around like
story.
5 years in or
Yeah,
something like that. Don't
very
quote me
well
on that.
established. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's fought Joker. He's done all these things. Yeah, but like now it's getting
Hmm.
crazier, which is it's nice.
Yeah.
Let's get into the movie properly. Just some closing thoughts, and then we can do drama class and final thoughts. But uh, one thing I wanted to specifically shout out in this movie is that the movie doesn't end with like Batman saving the day. It's Bruce.
Mm-mm.
Bruce saves the
Hmm.
day, and it's
Which is a fun
very
twist.
yeah, it's very important. Yeah, like he's not in the full suit. He's in his regular clothes. We do see him in his full suit, which is amazing. If you're watching the video
Hmm.
version, there's
It's a
a
good one.
the cover is right in between us, so you can kind of see that. Um, it's a great adaptation of that early like 30s 20s style suit with more modern take on it. If you want a full 30s suit, watch our episode of Cape Crusader. That is straight up OG
Oh yeah.
minus the purple gloves.
Hmm.
But I like that it's Bruce that closes out this movie and saves the day, not Batman, and that's a very
Hmm.
important distinction in this. I think. Um, I did like Selena, their little matchup. I think that was really well adapted from that. I do love that. I think I put a note here. The origins of Matches Malone persona.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Shout out to
starts.
Matches Malone, my beloved.
I love it. Gordon, I put like Gordon has moves, never discount the Marine training.
Hmm.
Um,
Gordon holds his own in this movie.
yeah,
And he is always like a commanding and strong presence, but we really never get to see him like fully in action like we do in these early years. And I love that for him.
yeah. I did. I also did love this when they're introducing Susan uh to the rest of the GCPD in the bullpen. Some dude straight up wolf whistles. I'm like, damn, that's how
Uh,
bad GCPD is. They're like, are you gonna talk to
mm-hmm.
HR? Is like, HR's never here. Don't worry about
No.
it.
My favorite was the whole the Jimmy bit that was going on.
Mm.
He's like, call me by my fucking title or I swear to God, I'm gonna fucking punch you in the face. Like good for you,
Flash
Jim.
Flash gets his ass whooped as he should throughout this
As he
whole
should.
movie.
Yeah. Constantly. Um my favorite thing about this movie is at one point Bruce is bleeding out like all over a car and then all over the manor. And I was like, where is the like healthy like respect and fear of Alfred's wrath? Like you're seriously just gonna bleed out everywhere?
I
Not
put
not even gonna do a thing to stop it?
man, Bruce definitely bled all over that Porsche.
Hmm. Yeah. My favorite was when he was sitting in that fancy ass old ass chair. He's like, I could call for help, but I won't. And I'm like, dude. Alfred's gonna whoop your ass when he
Yeah,
sees what mess
if
you left.
if you're not dead, you're going to be because of
You're
Alfred.
gonna be. Exactly. I really loved the SWAT fight they had when they
Oh
brought in all the
man,
cops. I thought that was really well done. That was gorgeous.
great adaptation and really good live action version of that in Batman Begins. Really well done. Every time they do it, it's always they do it very well. Cape Crusader does a version of it that's really well done as well.
Hmm.
It's like iconic. If you're gonna do some kind of origin of Batman, you gotta have that scene because it makes the most sense. Like it
Gotta.
just shows how cool he looks. Using like his little gadgets, his trickery and stuff to take them out, and just whooping the ass of the GCPD.
Hmm.
I did love that. I did have a funny joke here because there's a point where it's like something's happening during the day, and Alfred offers like, "Do you want to take the suit?" At this point, he's been Batman, and he's like, "Oh, I'd never wear the costume during the day." I was like, "Wait till you have to fight Darkseid on a random ass Tuesday, Bruce." Like, cause yeah, it's gonna be daylight in
He'd just be
Metropolis.
out here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I gotta wear this. I am not Bruce Wayne right now. I gotta be Batman.
Yeah.
I love
Hmm.
that. I love
Yeah,
that.
that was a good one. That did make me chuckle earlier when I was reading through your notes. I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, you're right. You're so right.
And I love also because canonically James Jr., who is the baby that Barbara has first.
Hmm.
James is older than Barbara. Barbara's daughter, Barbara.
Yeah.
It's hard because you don't do juniors for girls. So like I have the same thing at work.
Mm-mm.
Like I just found out like a year ago that my friend is named after her mom. I'm like, that's so uncommon. I was like, it's cool, but it's
Mhm.
uncommon. Um, I was like, damn, Gordon shooting the fade with Falcone's nephew while he has the baby. It's like no fucking wonder James Jr. is fucked up because James Jr. is a serial killer
Yeah.
in the DC universe. And honestly, why not? He's almost killed multiple
Yeah.
times that early in his life.
Mhm. Yeah. Trauma scars run deep.
Mhm.
I will say though, one of my current jobs, I do often see large groups of families, and I will often see like three women of three completely different generations with the same exact name.
That's to me. I like swear to God. Other than like Barbara Gordon, I mentioned this at work. I was like, other than
Mhm.
Barbara Gordon, it's just my friend at work. I'm like, I've never heard of that
Mhm.
before. Like that's crazy. I just thought they were being lazy in comic books. Like, oh, this was a thing apparently. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I think it's definitely less common in the U.S. We do often see like the sons' names passed
Oh
down,
yeah.
like the third, the fifth, the 1900th or whatever. But yeah, no. I think that's all I have. Oh, the at one point I did write Joker, dun dun
Yeah.
dun.
Because of course it's not an
Because of
origin.
course it's not an origin
It's
because you
not
don't have the
Batman Begins
Joker.
until you see that fucking card. It's not Cape Crusader. Spoilers if you haven't watched that series. Until you see him messing with
Mhm.
the Joker gas, and it's not this fucking
Mhm.
movie if you don't make the same thing. He's messing with the water supplies. I guess I got to deal with this. Like
Mhm.
Gotham's getting weirder. Like no shit, Bruce. You
No
fucking changed
fucking
everything.
shit. Yeah.
God
When the
damn.
costume crazies come out,
Hmm.
the world's gonna go to the shit.
I did love. I didn't put this line in drama class, but it reminded me when I was looking it up earlier. Barbara, when pregnant, her and Jim go to visit Bruce Wayne because he's finally available, and they're trying to vet out if he's this vigilante, and he's just drunk as hell, naked. He's got like his robe on, but apparently you can see everything. Uh, with these women of the night, and they're all drunk and all as well. I love that he plays it up so well to the point where Barbara's like, "That man is disgusting. I never want you to see that person again."
And then the girl after is like the was a choice you made.
Yeah.
That was the weirdest day work I've ever had in my life. Like,
She's like, this town is so weird. I just made so much money for just being drunk. This is awesome.
yeah. For just
Easy day.
faking being drunk
Yeah.
and fawning over some rich asshole's lap. Like, all right, sure.
So do we have to do stuff afterwards? No, absolutely. Do not touch me.
No.
Please leave.
Yeah, absolutely. You've touched me enough. That was
Yeah, his
too
autistic
much,
little brain is
actually.
like,
Yeah.
nope,
No.
no, thank you. I need some time to
Correct.
decompress.
Absolutely correct.
I need alone time. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But
Love
yeah,
that.
that was my closing thoughts. At least that was the last thing I wanted to touch on. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
a short movie. It's a damn good movie, but with some damn
Already
good
run
quotes.
longer than the runtime, I'm pretty sure.
Again, it's a good sign of a movie.
Yes.
Let's kick it off to my favorite section, drama class, as we act out some of our favorite scenes. I got two. They're both Batman related.
They are both verse.
And yeah, they're both monologues because it's very monologue heavy. Did you want to do Batman's first sighting, or did you want to do Bruce's becoming Batman, like coming up with the idea?
I'll do the first one and you'll do the second one. How about that?
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Batman evades a dinner party of Gotham City's criminal elite and their corrupted government officials who thought that the new superhero would never bother them.
Ladies, gentlemen, you've eaten well. You've eaten Gotham's wealth. Its spirit, but your feast is nearly over. From this moment on, none of you are safe. Dun dun dun.
And I love he just closes the fucking silver like platter, just scaring the shit out of them. Starting the fucking Batman thing. Yep. All right. So I will do Bruce. This is post bleeding in a Porsche and all over the banner. Poor Alfred.
Poor Alfred, indeed.
I've tried to be patient. I've tried to wait. But I have to know how, Father. How do I do it? What do I use to make them afraid? If I rang the bell, Alfred will come. Another of your gifts, Father. But I'd rather die than wait another hour. I've waited 18 years. 18 years since all sense left my life.
The bat crashes through his window, lands on his father's sculpture.
Yes, Father.
Fucking dumbass. I love him so much.
That also just shows that he's autistic. He's like, yeah, oh, okay, a Batman. I'll be a Batman. It's like,
I'll be a Batman.
You can just like have like a cool super suit and just like fight crime. He's like, no. The bat landed on my dad's head.
Yeah.
Batman. Like, okay.
All right, sure, buddy. Whatever you say.
Now I have a softball ass question for you.
Thank God.
For quiz time. And that I'm not even gonna look at my notes. I put it here in our thing, but I was like, I don't know who it is. What other DC character has Ben McKenzie played?
Oh, fucking hell. You know I'm horrible with names. Other DC character Ben McKenzie played. I don't know who that man is. I've never seen that man before in my life.
Well, you have.
I have. Okay, great. Incredible. Who have I seen that man as before?
I will allow you to look up a picture of him.
Because
once you see a photo, it's gonna be like
it's
gonna be like your mind blown. For video watchers, focus on Sly right now because you're about to see someone's brain explode.
Okay, let's see. Oh, fucking shit! Okay, I absolutely know who that is.
Yep. I was like, we only talk about it every episode.
So funny. Oh, that's yeah, and he did such a good Gordon too.
Yep. That's correct. He plays Lieutenant James Gordon in Gotham.
Yeah.
Hit Fox TV show.
Shout out to Gotham. That was a fun show.
Yeah, he's a damn good Gordon.
He's an excellent Gordon, and I'm so glad you told me to Google that man because
You're like, I've never seen this man a day. I was like, you have a clear section of your brain
Mm-hmm.
dedicated to Ben McKenzie specifically.
Yeah, I did not know his name.
This is a perfect, like, us doing DC graduates is a perfect moment for me to be like, and finally say this. No way in my fucking life would I ever think, and I only watch a handful of episodes, but the motherfucker from the OC would turn out to be such an amazing Batman, an amazing
Hmm.
Gordon, just a nerd all around, a good dude, a great husband. His wife is fucking banging, and like they have a shitload of kids. And shout out to Gotham because that's how they met. It's just all around
Not for them.
beautiful, just beautiful. God damn, who would have figured the
Dang
teen
it.
heartthrob would have been like one of the most amazing
They can get it.
interpretations. Oh yeah,
They
yeah.
look incredible together.
Oh yeah, they do. They look like they fit. They have main character energy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. We're just side
100%.
characters in their book. That's what they are. That's what
Yeah.
we're.
All right. That was thoroughly pleasant. I fully enjoyed that. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for uh exposing me to that piece of fun fact.
I was like, you definitely know who he is. No, okay, go look up a photo because your mind's good. And it did. It was perfect to watch.
It did.
All right, so now we're going into the final stretch. We're in homeroom. Final thoughts on the movie, Sly. What's your final thoughts on Batman Year One?
uh Perfect, incredible, no notes, amazing, wonderful, stupendously great.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any more cinnamon. Hmm. Synonyms. This is, dare I say it, a perfect film. It is, I love a tight 90. I love a tight 64 even more. It was
Yeah.
perfect. It was action packed. It was true to the source material in a way that made really interesting choices adapting to a new medium. Um, Again, if you, by this point, if you're like me and love listening to people talk about things you think you're never going to watch, I see you. I respect you. I'm one of you. Go watch this fucking movie. Like I dare you. Like it is good. You
That
will
good.
not regret it. Even if you know like everything about the story, even if you love the books, like you will thoroughly enjoy
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
this film.
absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. I think this movie is damn near perfect, if not perfect. Being 60 minutes, it's even better. It makes it even
Hmm.
better. The fact that they got those four issues, they didn't stretch anything out unnecessarily. Looking at you, Hobbit. They didn't do anything that took away from the canon. It's straight up just a pure adaptation with little changes, like the fact that like it's a little more focused on Gordon than it is on Bruce this
Hmm.
time around. I think it
Which
serves the
fits
story
for the
really well.
medium.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I mean, shout out to the voice director on this. I'm not sure who it is, but
I can
picking
look. Keep talking.
yeah, picking out Bryan Cranston to be Gordon, Ben McKenzie to do another role in the Batman universe as Batman specifically. Dushku playing I know her, like we're best friends. Elijah Dushku playing Selena, and having these beautiful moments from this graphic novel that is Year One adapted so perfectly, like one for one shot sometimes, adapting David's art so well. And if you love noir stuff, 100% watch this.
Mm.
If you watch our previous two episodes where we talked about Batman King Crusader, watch this 100%. Read this book. Absolutely read this book. This book is amazing, and watch this movie right after. I'm sure you can find some kind of 2-pack where you get this and the book. And actually,
Yeah.
DC has a new line of stuff.
Honestly, if you have a freaking library card that uses
Oh yeah,
Hoopla, you can check out Year One comic the like collection on Hoopla. Ask me how I know. I did it. Shout out Seattle Public Libraries. I appreciate you greatly.
yeah. I definitely. Oh, I actually live outside the city now. I should probably do that now for this one. Maybe I can get. Yeah. All right. Didn't think about it now that I live outside of the city, but yeah, I wouldn't be
Hmm.
surprised. DC has this thing they launched this year called DC Compact Comics, where they take very famous graphic novels and they make them smaller form, cheaper as well, and kind of just like it's like a little. It's almost like a paperback to a hardback version of these graphic novels. This is not on there yet, would not be shocked if it doesn't show up eventually in the second run, third run of stuff, because we have that series has like Court of Owls, at least Batman wise, Court of Owls, Hush, Gotham City Sirens, which goddamn that's a really good series, and then another Catwoman one, but like specifically this has to be in like whatever like volume 2 they release and everything like that. It's perfect. But yeah, library, any way you can read this, read it. Any way you can watch it. Legally, illegally, who knows, man? You know, who am I to say? Fuck David Zaslav.
Mm-hmm. So the casting director, I believe was her title, yes, was Meredith Lane for this one, who also worked on she casted Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2012.
Hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, that's a,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a,
And X-Men 97.
well,
And What If?
damn.
You know what?
What if, sorry.
All
But
right.
yeah.
All right. And Arcane. Shit.
Oh, shit. God damn.
She's a great casting director. Castlevania's in here.
Well,
All right.
fuck.
All right. We see you.
Shout out to you. Yeah. Yeah, you know who to pick. Because you think celebrities, right? And this is like 2011, peak Bryan Cranston, right? Like, of course, you're like, oh, he could do anything. Not every celebrity really could do everything. You know, not every actor can do everything. No, Bryan Cranston is that dude. He could do anything. And the cast of Miss Gordon, perfect choice. Ben McKenzie.
Shout out to her also being the casting director on our previous iteration, Batman Assault on Arkham.
Oh,
all right.
I mean, the voice actors are good in that movie. It is what it is.
Yeah, that was kind of a shining light of that movie.
That's our positive from that movie, retroactively. But
yeah, that's our one takeaway.
Again, to constantly to make fun of this, because it was at the time I had no one to talk to, but the fact that the dude from the OC turned out to be an amazing Gordon, and then it's like, hey man, can you do Batman? It's like, yeah, I could do Batman, and he's an amazing Bruce and Batman. Like, she killed it, absolutely. Shout out to her. Yeah, but that's it, man. Near perfect movie. Watch it any way you can. So with that, class is dismissed, but we have homework for next week. So our second episode of season 2, we are going to be touching on Batman, The Dark Knight, part 1 and 2.
Dark Knight Returns. Part 1 and 2. The 2012/2013 did like a dual release.
Yeah. Yeah, there's is it on Max? Hold on, I have my phone on.
I don't know, but you know what it is in? The 80th anniversary 18 disc collection.
Yeah. If you got that sale.
I had to go out and buy a Blu-ray player. I haven't had a DVD player since 2020.
Oh, see, I always think about doing that, and then I forget that I have an Xbox. I was like, oh, I can actually watch Blu-rays on
my Xbox and my PS5 are discless.
Oh, fair. All right, look it up, Max. And, you know, there are some not good signs. Is that Mickey Mouse?
There are some not good signs.
Okay, yeah, so no. That's a no. There's ways to find a movie.
Yeah.
There's ways to find a movie. But till next time, class is dismissed.
Bye.